College Baseball Central fan. Oh, I'm muted. Unmute me. There we go. Welcome back, College Baseball Central fans. Hey, we're here for another Saturday morning. AJ joining us again. What's up, AJ? How we doing this morning, man?
We're doing well. It's another beautiful day down here in Jacksonville, Florida. Weather seems to be a little better across the country as well. Second weekend SEC play, some big time, mid-major matchups. It's a very good weekend for some college baseball.
Is that a slap in my face since I'm up here in Pullman and it literally snowed on me for 3 hours last night during the game?
Not too much of a slap in your face, more of a slap in the face of March Madness because the baseball games have been more entertaining than the basketball games. It's kind of unreal.
It's fact, and it's been so great. I mean, this weekend just adds to what this season has been. It's been terrific. I mean, we've seen a lot of play here in ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12. All the conferences are going, and these games matter. They're really getting important here for these folks, and we're going to talk about all of them. We're going to start with the games that started on Thursday. There's a few games that started on Thursday this week. Tennessee and Alabama is the first one we're going to touch on. Tennessee loses that first game 5-6. They win the second one 10-7. Both these teams seem to be near the top of the SEC right now. Bama scores 5 in the second in that first game, holds on to the win. Justin LeBron 3 RBI double there. Big difference in game 1. Game 2, Tennessee gets the offense going early, jumps out to the 5-0 lead. Alabama kept trying to punch back, AJ, but they never really did get back. The Curly bomb, the 2 RBI single from Bargo put them up 10-4, and that was pretty much all she wrote for Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee came into the series, they dropped their first matchup against ETSU. And then when they lost game 1, you were like, okay, is this Tennessee kind of coming back to earth? And it seemed like they found their equilibrium a little bit in game 2. Alabama, very good offensive team, relentless. They managed to make it competitive towards the end in a game that really kind of felt like they were getting blown out late. It's a matchup of, I think you have to look at these two teams as, favorites in the SEC right now with how they're playing. Justin LeBron and that pitching staff can carry that team. They have so far. Tennessee just loaded throughout the roster. I really think that this is, I wouldn't be surprised if we see these two teams match up, SEC tournament championship game or something like that with how these two rosters are constructed.
Yeah, one thing to mention is Gavin Keelan has not played this weekend for Tennessee, and I think that's been a little bit of the difference there. But Alabama just continues to find ways to win. Big win that first game. Tennessee bounces back that second game. I think these are two of the top SEC teams, and I think it's a surprise that Alabama's right there. But Tennessee is really taking care of business. Alabama's taking care of business. Great to see these two teams. We're going to see a rubber match today. Cannot wait. Let's go to another one that ended up splitting. Florida State wins that first game 14-1, and it feels like, hey, this is the Florida State that's just been rolling all season to get going against Miami. Really taking care of business, easily winning that one. Miami punches back and gets the win 9-6 last night. Now, Florida State did load the bases up in the ninth there, AJ, and tried to make that comeback, but they didn't quite get enough.
And anytime you beat Jamie Arnold, you earn the win. And they beat Jamie Arnold. It's not like they beat the bullpen. Very rough outing for Jamie Arnold. He's going to be fine. He's going to bounce back. He's one of the best pitchers, if not the best pitcher in college baseball this year. I'm not worried about him at all. But kudos to this Miami team. They needed that win. And against the Florida State team to need a win in conference, very tough spot to be against one of the best pitchers in baseball. Very impressed with them. If they can come out today and win, that'd be huge for that program, solidifying a little bit of a foothold in the ACC after a shaky start to the season. It hasn't been what they wanted so far, but there's still plenty of time for them to turn around. If I'm Florida State, you drop a game with your ace, so be it. You're going to drop one at some point in ACC play. Yeah. It's fine. Roster is still loaded. You look back at what your offense did on Thursday. They can do it again today. Florida State, I'm not concerned at all. It's kind of more on Miami. This is a statement that they can make. If Florida State ends up dropping the series, oh well, just go out and get them again next week.
Yeah, Miami's bullpen has been really good this season. And yesterday, Thursday they didn't get to show it off. Yesterday they were a little bit better. They got in a little bit of trouble late there, but that team was really good. And to beat Jamie Arnold any day, like you said, that's a good thing. And it felt like they were just kind of, Florida State was kind of getting Jamie Arnold going again. So maybe this felt more like almost like a rehab start here for him. I'm not worried about him at all. I think that he's going to go out next week and shove. No disappointment there. Jamie Arnold's a very good pitcher. He's going to bounce right back. But big win there for Miami to go out there and get that W. Let's go to another series. Texas A&M and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's taking the first two games of the series here. A&M starts off 0-5 in SEC play. No team that started off 0-5 in SEC play has ever made the tournament, which is an insane stat. But you're looking at them. They lose the first one 3-5. Jace Lavalette hits that 2-run bomb. And you're like, oh, maybe this is A&M getting going. Maybe this is what gets them going. The first inning home run. 3-run home run there from Humphrey gives Vandy the lead back, and it really just never came back. And then the next game, Texas A&M, Bear Harrison homers in the second. You're like, maybe the same thing. Maybe this gets that A&M offense going. They get nothing else. They get 11 total hits in 2 games as they lose 3-5 and 1-3. It's crazy. Vanderbilt has the pitching, and they've been really good this year, but A&M's offense is just gone.
Yeah, I saw a stat that was like first 2 games, Texas A&M struck out 38 times. And that's it's an insane. Like, yes, I know Vanderbilt has a really good staff, but this isn't a Vanderbilt staff of Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter. Like, that you don't have those 2 guys, and the bullpen's good, but you don't have, like an Arkansas or an LSU type bullpen where they're just pumping, 98, 99 at you, and you're still K'ing that much. And you're supposedly this offense with a ton of talent. And I believe that the talent's there. That I'm not saying there's no talent. I'm not saying there's a lack of talent, anything like that. But for whatever reason, it seems like nerves have been getting the best of them, and they're not rising to meet the moment. And maybe there's too much effort to try and rise to meet the moment instead of trusting the work that they put in. Texas A&M right now is at the plate floundering. They need some consistency. They need someone to step up and break the ice, and it can't be Jace Lavalette because you expect that from him at this point. He's struggled. Someone else needs to step up and jolt that lineup to where it doesn't feel like all the pressure is on one guy to perform. And even when he does, he hits a clutch 2-run homer to, maybe this gets the momentum going. It gives them the lead on the road. Like, maybe this is something. Without that support around him, they can pitch around him. He's going to continue to press. No one else is really making a push, making it hard on opposing pitching staffs, and that can't happen. The SEC is just too deep to rely on 1 or 2 guys offensively, and unfortunately for A&M, they're in that spot. Pitching's been really, really good for them.
Really great. Yeah.
You go in an SEC play and you go, hey, we'll give up 5 runs in one game, 3 runs in another. You expect to win one of them, and that just hasn't happened for A&M so far.
No, and I looked at that. I'm like, okay, the Bear Harrison. That's not a guy you expect to do to contribute like that. He hits that home run. I'm like, maybe this is something that gets the rest of his teammates fired up. Maybe this is what gets them rolling. Catcher going out there hitting that home run for him, getting them, and then just nothing. I mean, just 6 hits on the day and 5 in the previous day. They got to figure out some way to get some offense going. This is a team that's much better than their record, but the record still speaks to something, right? When you're 0-5 starting off in SEC play, it doesn't matter if you're better than that record. You have to get some wins at some point, and they've got to figure out a way to go get some wins, and the offense is the biggest key. But J.D. Thompson, like we mentioned, he was great, 6.1, 5 hits, 1 earned run, and 10 strikeouts. The strikeouts were just off the charts this weekend for Vanderbilt so far, but we'll see the third game today coming up on that one. Normal weekend start here for Coastal Carolina, 11, Troy 3. This Troy team is somebody that's been ranked in a lot of polls. They're a very good baseball team. These are 2 teams that are competing for that Sun Belt series. One of them is going to probably win that title. This was big for Coastal to go over on the road, go beat Troy, who's been a very good hitting team. They've done it with the pitching also in some days. The biggest difference was the 10 walks. They issued 10 walks, AJ, and that was set Coastal up for the timely hitting.
Yeah, you're not going to win many games in the Sun Belt if you walk 10 guys. And we saw that today. This is, for my money, the best mid-major series of the weekend. Like, this is one that I definitely had my eye on. And not that I'm surprised to see Coastal put that much on the scoreboard, but they got gifted a lot of opportunities and they made the most of them. Yeah. Troy never really gave themselves a chance in this game with giving up that many free bases. I don't expect the rest of the series to be, non-competitive 11-3 style games. I think this is still going to be a very good series. I think the winner of this will have kind of the inside track to bragging rights in the Sun Belt, whether it be the number 1 seed or, just the, hey, we're the best mid-major team in college baseball. Like, the winner of this series will have an argument there. Whether they actually are or not is a different conversation. Yeah. But it's going to be some very exciting ball. I'm impressed that Coastal was able to go down and do that on the road because we know Coastal as, hey, this offense is built for this ballpark. But to go and have the pitching to shut down a pretty lethal Troy offense in their home ballpark. It's one thing to put up 11. It's another thing to hold an offense like Troy to 3. That's something you can actually circle and be like, this was the impressive part about today.
And this game was 3-4 going into the sixth, and you're like, okay, it's still a good ball game. And then Alexander Sebastian hits that 3-run home run, and it really separated Coastal in that game. And what the difference was, like we said, the walks. I mean, Troy's better than that. They got to be better than that. I think we can all agree that these are probably two tournament teams, and they would have to have some form of implosion down the season to not make it in the tournament. So you're looking at two very good teams here that have been battling back and forth. But a big win for Coastal to start off the weekend. We love to see that going down and winning on the road in the Sun Belt is not easy. Wake Forest 1, Clemson 5. Good start of the weekend for Clemson. Aiden Connect cruised, man. 6 innings pitched, 10 strikeouts, just 2 hits, 1 earned run. The earned run was a Cade Lewis solo shot, but Wake only had 4 hits on the day.
Yeah, and Kanak just continued to prove that he is the preeminent ace, maybe outside of Jamie Arnold in the ACC. Logan Lunsford had a claim to that coming in, and the announcers pregame were like, his walk to strikeout rate is insane. He's only gone to like 9 3-ball counts this entire year, and then he walks 3 guys in the first inning, and you're like, okay, this isn't the Logan Lunsford, but that's what this Clemson lineup can do to you. It's not a ton of guys who can hit it 440, but it's I believe that Eric Backage said about their leadoff guy, I'm blanking on his name right now, said he's obsessed with getting on first base. And that seems to kind of be the mindset of a lot of this lineup is, hey, we're just going to get on base and make you deal with guys on base. We're going to have action on the base paths that's going to stress you out. And for someone like Logan Lunsford, who hasn't really had much of that action to deal with, it's kind of unreal that Clemson was able to put that much on him in the first inning and kind of take control of the game. And Kanak just never let Wake Forest back into the game.
Yeah, and Clemson just 4 in the first there, and they took really good at bats. They took good at bats all day. They just didn't quite get the timely hits that they needed for the rest of the day to put in more runs. But they really did have good at bats all day long, and they really got into that Wake Forest bullpen. They really took care of business there. Cannot go on the 6 innings there. That just gives Clemson this huge set forward here as a home series here against Wake Forest. And a Wake Forest team that's been super hot offensively, to be shut down to just the 4 hits it speaks volumes of how good he was on that day. So good win for Clemson to start off at home here against Wake Forest. We'll see what happens the rest of the weekend, but we love to see these ball games that are, kind of surprising in ways where you shut down a team that's been so on fire offensively.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of those aces that can just do that to a team, though. LSU and Texas, another premier series that we wanted to see here. LSU traveling to Texas as an SEC foe for the first time. LSU wins that game 8-2. Flores got it started for Texas with the RBI single. Hernandez comes back up for LSU and hits a home run in the fourth. Galvin would homer for Texas in the sixth, making it a 4-2 ball game. And then 4 runs added by LSU in the seventh. But really, the story was Cade Anderson, 6 innings, 7 hits, 8 strikeouts, and 2 earned runs. And then Zach Cohen comes in and goes 3 innings and just 1 hit with 3 Ks and really shut that Texas lineup down and never gave him a chance to breathe.
Yeah, I mean, Texas is one of those teams to where we kind of watched them last weekend, and it's like, yes, no doubt there's talent, but the clutch gene is what's really helping them win games. You could make an argument that really they shouldn't have won a single game at Mississippi State last week. It was a couple bad innings by Mississippi State, clutch hitting, all of a sudden turns into a sweep for Texas. So it's like all of a sudden we have 2 traditional powerhouses, LSU and Texas, SEC series. And then LSU kind of walks in and says, okay, we actually are the powerhouse. We are still LSU. You may think that because you swept your first SEC series that you are an SEC team. This is what an SEC team really looks like, really pitches like, really hits like. And, they have a run scored on them, respond with a 2-run bomb. Tack on, and then you make it a 4-2 game, we'll put a 4 spot up right after you.
Right
LSU
after.
it was just responding, clutch, timely hitting, and then just keeping the pressure on. And anytime you can give Cade Anderson run support, you're feeling very good about your chances. And then he hands it off to the bullpen. Good night.
Yeah, and this LSU pitching staff, we knew this going in that they were going to be good. The question was on offense, but the offense has answered all season long so far. I have no problem with people if they want to put LSU at that number 1 spot coming up this weekend, where the rest of the weekend pending, of course. But this team seems to just keep winning ball games, and they do it in different ways, but the pitching has been just elite so far for LSU, and we loved seeing that here this first opening season here, or series at Texas for them. Big win for LSU on that Friday night, but we'll see what happens the rest of the weekend. Duke and Virginia. Now, these are 2 teams that were very highly rated in preseason, very highly rated at the start of the season. 2 teams that have very much struggled. Duke seems to be finding their footing, but Virginia is still just stumbling. Duke wins 9-5. Ben Miller, big as he homers, has 4 RBIs, 2 for 5. Gabe Nard comes in out of the bullpen, gets the win there for Duke. Just 6 hits for Virginia. Henry Godbout had 2 of them and a home run. Virginia's now 12-8 and just can't find any footing right now.
This is one of those weird series to where does the result of this actually tell you about any of these two teams? Because you mentioned Virginia 12-8 right now, they're 3-4 in conference. Duke is 14-9, also 3-4 in conference. So is it, if one of these teams sweeps, is that just like them finally achieving something, or is that just the other team, failing to achieve themselves? If they split, is it kind of just, move on from the weekend and will actually make a statement against a team that has some positive trend to try to actually prove that these two teams are trending in the right direction? I don't know. These two have been kind of the most frustrating teams for me, and not just because I picked both of them to be in Omaha at the end of the year, but because you look and they have people performing really, really well, but it's only one or two.
Yeah,
and you need that support in a deep league, in a sport where parity is only increasing. You need to have your role players play a positive role. You need to have guys step up, be clutch. You need to have people emerge. Look at Clemson's roster. Purify was a bench guy to start the year. Now he's hitting 2-hole. He's been their MVP a couple different weekends now in very important series. Who's that guy been for Duke? Who's that guy been for Virginia? Yeah. And it's very frustrating to watch these two teams just because you're like, where's the maximizing talent? And the coach, we know the coaching staff's good enough. But we know the coaches are doing whatever they can. They're just as confused as we are at these results. But, big win for Duke. Not going to deny that that's a big win for Duke. But maybe this is, one of those series where we just want to see some good fundamental ball played between these two teams. And regardless of the weekend, if they can play good baseball, then use that as a building block going forward, no matter the result.
Yeah, this is two teams that a lot of people had picked for Omaha, like you said. A lot of people had them in the top 15. Most people had them in the top 15 for both these clubs, and they both have struggled out the gate here. A lot of time left, lots more ball to be played. They can figure their stuff out. They both have the talent. They both have the coaching staffs to figure this out. But it has just been very, very confusing to see both these teams struggle so mightily. And it's not like they have a bunch of freshmen or new people into these teams. These are two experienced teams that have a lot of their guys back, and two teams that were very good last year. So it's very surprising to see the struggles so far, especially on the Virginia side where they returned so much. But it is what it is. 9-5 win for Duke, big win for Duke on the road. Any road win in the ACC play is good, so it's a good way to go down there and get that one. Speaking of a road win, Georgia 8, Florida 7. Back and forth game. I mean, this was a fun game, back and forth. Both teams were battling. Florida used the long ball. Shelton, Heyman, Bozer all hit home runs. But it was the 9-inning blast from who else but your guy, man. Rylan Zaborowski hits that 2-run bomb, and you're like, of course he did it again. Why are they even pitching to him in this scenario?
I'd give him the Barry Bonds treatment in that scenario.
Like,
even if the bases were loaded and that would have tied the game, he's going to do more damage. And the fact he hadn't homered yet means that he was just due. Dude has just been unreal. I think he's leading the nation in home runs now.
Yep.
And just all of them seem to be clutch. And part of that's Georgia pitching staff, offense having to come from behind a little bit. I think this was the longest starter appearance that they had in a couple weeks. And I don't even think he got out of the third inning.
2 2/3.
Yeah. It's, that's a whole nother conversation. The fact you're having to have Brian Curley be your Saturday starter kind of shows how much that rotation has struggled, but it's given the offense a chance to be clutch and be productive. Yeah. And this offense and Ryland has, surged into Golden Spikes conversations because of the opportunities like this. And he's not hitting garbage time homers. He's hitting clutch homers like this. To do so on the road at Florida, to go from trailing to taking the lead, unreal. And then, for Florida, that has to just be a gut punch because you've been fighting back the entire game. You have an early lead, and then, then it's 4-3, and then you tie it 4-4. It ends up being 6-5, and then you're like, okay, we finally have a lead going into the ninth, and then you blow it like this. It has to be so frustrating for O'Sullivan, but it's Florida. They're going to continue to hit. Pitching staff's also a little banged up right now,
Banged
so
up.
this is not the
Yeah.
best version of Florida you're going to see. Um, I'm not worried about Florida, but it's another just Georgia continuing to play ugly, scrappy baseball games and come out on top.
Yeah, and this was a weekend rotation for Florida that we had talked about being climbing their way up into the top five, and then now with those injuries, you're like, okay, they got to figure ways out to go out there and get some wins. I think they're going to be fine at home. I think they're going to figure out how to win at least one of these games against Georgia, even with the depletion of their pitching right now. But good job there for Georgia to go out there and Ryland to go out there and hit that home run. I mean, this the guy had career high 10 home runs last season, and he's got what 14 now this year. So it's just crazy. He's just on fire. He's on some kind of tear. And Colton Smith goes out there, gives up 2 walks in the bottom of the ninth, and then he strikes out a couple guys to go win that game, get the save. So really, just overall a great ball game, and we love seeing it. The 8-7 games are fun in SEC play, which we're going to talk about another one right now. Auburn wins 8-7 against Kentucky. Auburn takes the lead in the top of the ninth also on an error. Parker Carlson and Ryan Helser, though, were the big difference there for Auburn as they went 2.1 perfect to hold off Kentucky to not let them back in. Ike Irish back in the lineup also for Auburn, a big emotional lift as well as just a really talented guy to put back in your lineup. So big win for Auburn on the road at Kentucky.
Yeah, heartbreaking loss for Kentucky. You have the lead with 2 outs in the ninth. Then ball that just gets down in front of the left fielder ties the game. And then next pitch, Ike Irish up. You're expecting him to do damage. He hits a mile-high pop-up, and your freshman shortstop drops it.
Yeah.
And it's just you felt the entire energy to get sucked out of the stadium, and you feel so bad for him because Tyler Bell, shortstop for Kentucky, has been very, very good as a freshman this year.
He's been elite as a freshman.
It's unreal. I think he's the highest rated recruit by Kentucky to ever make it to campus.
Yep.
And you just hate that moment for him. He's going to bounce back. Kentucky's going to bounce back, but massive win for Auburn on the road. Yes, Auburn's ranked. Yes, Kentucky's not, but winning on the road, especially in Kentucky, that's an environment and a weather environment that they aren't used to playing in. And to be able to go out there and offense to continue to produce, pick up a pitching staff that kind of let them down a little bit, a massive, massive win for them. If they can get this series, that's a huge step for Auburn, especially coming off the heels of a win against Vandy.
Yeah, and Kentucky won 22 games last year. It wasn't a mistake. That team was very good at home, going and winning a road game for Auburn on the road there. Big win there for Butch and company. Gotta love to see that. You go out there and get a win there on Friday night. It always makes you feel good in any SEC game. Speaking of another SEC game, to go out there and get a road win, which is just hard. I mean, we got to keep talking about that. It's hard to win on the road. Mississippi State 2, Oklahoma 1. They get the first loss there for Witherspoon. Crazy. He goes 6 2/3, 11 strikeouts, 1 earned run, and Oklahoma just cannot figure out how to get the offense rolling in that one. Pico Cone also gets his fourth win for Mississippi State, though, which was a big start. But the 2-1 ball game, this was a real pitching duel all the way down through this game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have a win over Kyson Witherspoon, it's going to be because the Oklahoma offense doesn't show up. And that's and not really they tried to show up, but Pico Cone was just that elite, the way he was just shoving, locking them down. Unreal pitching performance. That's kind of what you expect with two Friday night aces going at it. And it was just a very, very clean, well-played ball game. I'm sure Mississippi State wants to see their guys score some more runs, especially after kind of lackluster performance last weekend. But to be able to, put up a W when going against Kyson Witherspoon, there are going to be opportunities against this Oklahoma bullpen and Friday or Saturday and Sunday starters to put up some more runs and do damage. So I'm huge, massive win for Mississippi State. Oklahoma, it's not like your Friday night guy went out and got beat. It was kind of on the offense, and after a good offensive performance last weekend against South Carolina, kind of the same thing of there's damage to be done against this Mississippi State latter half of the rotation. If your offense continues to struggle the rest of the weekend, then maybe that's a cause for concern. But just a very, very well played baseball game last night, and someone had to lose.
Yeah, and here's the thing. That's a big win for Mississippi State to go on the road and go get that one. They starting off 0-4 in SEC play would have been detrimental to their success for the season and how good this team actually is. But this loss here doesn't end it for Oklahoma. They're still a very good ball club. They're fine. Kyson Witherspoon, terrific. You're gonna get Malachi tonight, so it's not any easier necessarily for Mississippi State's offense. Oklahoma's got to find some offense and get going in this one. But really, big road win there for Mississippi State. Another road win. Arizona 6, West Virginia 4. Now this one took a little bit longer. To get going. 16 innings. The hero for this one was Morales. He was 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts, AJ, before he got that RBI single in the 16th. 10 straight wins for the Cats. They got 300 runs early in this game and then didn't really score anything. I think they had 1 hit for the next 10 innings. West Virginia tied it up in the 9th, but then they lost in the 16th. But really a good Big 12 matchup here, and Arizona stays hot and somehow finds a way to win this one.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they're very, very unentertaining 5.5-hour games. This was not one of them. It's weirdly, the middle stretch of the game was incredibly well played, well pitched. It wasn't like, there weren't guys on base. It wasn't like there wasn't some action going on. It was just people getting into jams, people working out of jams, clutch pitching, and just overcoming clutch hitting. And it was as entertaining as a 5.5-hour game could be, and to only be a 6-4 score should show how competitive that was. It wasn't your slugfests of 17-15, and it's just pitching staffs running on fumes. Like, this was a very, very well played baseball game.
Yeah,
I can almost guarantee you that the game we see today will be more higher scoring and only 9 innings. It just two offenses that really went up against pitching staffs that were effectively nails the entire time. West Virginia battles back to tie it.
Yeah,
it feels like they're trying to scratch that run across and they just can't do it to win, and then Arizona just eventually leans on you. Congrats 0 for 7 and then coming up and still having your head in the game enough to come through. There are a lot of people who would have just folded and just had a non-competitive at bat, been trying too hard, given up. A lot of coaches would have given up on that guy and been like, it's just not your night. Time to pinch hit for you.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
But he came through, and no one will remember 0 for 7 with 6 Ks. They'll remember hey, you helped us win this game.
And that's winning RBI.
And that's what you need in conference matchups.
Yeah, and different guys doing it for Arizona. And West Virginia has been a big surprise this year how good they've played thus far. This is a big series here for just them being in the Big 12 versus Arizona. Arizona having that 10 straight wins now. It really has been a turnaround from where they were earlier in the season. Arizona's a good baseball team. They're figuring out ways to win. The pitching staff's getting better every single week. West Virginia's right there with that pitching staff being elite. A little bit going to be depleted today in the next 2 days here. We're going to have to see what happens here. I think that Arizona's offense is slightly better than West Virginia at this point, so I think that they're going to lean a little bit harder on that bullpen there for West Virginia. But you never know. West Virginia at home, very good ball club. Great to see the rest of the weekend. All right, our favorite part of the show. Well, second favorite part of the show. Chinook Seeds, man, they saved my road trip. So I drove 6 hours to get up here to Pullman, Washington. As you see, I'm on site this week. Man, those seeds saved me the whole road trip up here. I had Hatch chili, I had original, I had Parmesan and cheese, I had lemon pepper. I was crushing seeds the whole way up here, and people were passing me, and I'm just like eating my seeds and just chilling, just vibing. Man, I don't know about you, but the Chinook seeds are just the best on the planet. And if you use code CBC, you get 10% off your whole first order. AJ, I don't know if you're a big seed guy out there on the game plan. Are you a big seed guy?
Oh, massive seed guy. And I grew up with the yes, you had your ranch, but the dill pickle seeds for me were like, I could just crank through an entire pack of those. And for a while, it was like people were either really in on the dill pickle flavors or they're really out. They were like, barbecue, whatever. Dill pickle was kind of outside, but the Chinook dill pickle and then the Parmesan and pepper, those are kind of my two go-tos. If I want something with a little bit of kick, the Hatch chili scratches that itch every single time. I love the flavor options. It's more than just your traditional, oh, here's your barbecue, here's your original, here's your dill pickles, our special one. It's elite flavors, and it's an elite sunflower seed.
Yeah, and the cinnamon toast. It's another one. You're just like, what? What? They
it's dessert. It's dessert.
So
like
good. I love it. You guys go out there. You can buy a sampler right now. You get, I think you get 32 bags. You get 4 of each flavor. You try them out, test them out, see which ones you like, and then go back and buy bags of your own that you want, the big ones. But go get the sampler, or keep buying samplers like me. That's what I do. I keep getting sampler packs because I just love all the flavors. So I'm not gonna short myself and have just one variety. But if you're one person that's like, I only want smokehouse, go buy yourself 12 of the big bags there. Use code CBC, you get 10% off your whole first order on ChinookSeedery.com. South Carolina to Arkansas 12. South Carolina bats have just not come through. Just 6 hits for South Carolina. Zach Root looked pretty good in the complete game there. 15 hits for Arkansas, including 4 from Davalin. Maxwell and Wahio Eloy both hit home runs in this one. Arkansas rolling and South Carolina just struggling to find something with the bats, AJ.
Yeah, tough spot to be for South Carolina going on the road to Arkansas with an angry Zach Root who didn't have the SEC opener he wanted. So, good luck with that. You had Petrie try to, get the offense jump started with the double in the first.
Yeah.
And then Zach Root pitched himself out of it. And seemed like once he did that, he was locked in. You weren't going to get him really until it was too late. Brandon Stone, rough outing again for Friday night guy for South Carolina. He was kind of put into that role based off of lack of performance from Matthew Becker. So it's the argument is he a true Friday night guy? Is he whatever? Again, tough spot to be against an Arkansas lineup that's really been clicking, and then having to go on the road. Kind of did the best he could to hung in there. Location wasn't great, and that offense is just going to be relentless. Anytime you have the beer hats going in the second inning, it's a tough spot to be if you're South Carolina. Obviously, they don't want to get run ruled. That happens. So we'll see how they respond today. I think Jake McCoy is probably their best arm and best hope to win. But again, there's no easy pitching matchup where you're like, okay, we got Zach Root out of the way. Who's coming up next? It's no guy from Podunk Tech. It's going to be another guy who's potential first-round talent. Good luck. Need to see good approaches if you're South Carolina. If you're Arkansas, keep leaning on a pitching staff that may not have the depth of yours, and the offense probably doesn't have the depth of yours. This is a series that they feel like, hey, we might be able to sweep this one at home early, really get off to a hot start in conference. At the very least, they're looking at a conference series win. Never going to complain about those, but they're going for the sweep this week.
Yeah, and if you're Arkansas and you're going, okay, everybody in our lineup except for Brent Iredale is going to get a hit, you're feeling pretty good. You're like, okay, he's going to hit. We're not worried about him producing and getting runs in. So you feel really good going into the rest of the weekend, especially when you don't have to use any bullpen arms and you're fully loaded, which is just a blessing that they already have. Going into the rest of the weekend, South Carolina's got to figure out something offensively. I think that's just been the biggest question mark all season for them. We know pitching has been question marks, but they have good enough pitching to stay in ball games if they can get some hitting. They got to figure out a way to get extra base hits. They got to figure out a way to slug their way into some ball games here in the SEC. You said Coastal Troy was your matchup that you wanted to see the mid majors. This was my matchup for the mid majors. Was UC Irvine and UCSB. This is a Big West. UCSB just went on the road, lost at Hawaii, which is a huge win for Hawaii. UC Irvine has already dropped one in Big West play. So this is a big matchup for both of these teams. Irvine goes into UCSB and wins 10-0. Huge road win. They beat Tyler Brimner, who's going to be a first-round pick. He's going to be a first-round talented pitcher. Crazy. Colin Yeeman goes 3 for 5, home run and a double. Every single person in the UC Irvine lineup got a hit, AJ.
And unreal against Tyler Bremner, but this isn't on Tyler Bremner.
No.
Like, he went out 6 innings, 3 runs. Like, that's a quality start. Yeah. You need to be able to score some runs, and that's been an issue for Santa Barbara the past week and a half or so. It's where's the offense been? Yes, Tyler Bremner pitched them to a win game 1 against Hawaii, but that was a 2-1 game.
They won 2-1. Yeah, they didn't put up offense.
So you need an offense to show up, and I don't care if the bullpen gave up 7 runs. Like, that's obviously not what they want to do. You're not going to win many games with the bullpen giving up 7 runs. But when you're asking your pitching staff to be perfect, you're not going to win very many games against a lineup like UC Irvine. Yeah. It's an unreal offensive lack of action there against a Irvine staff that, yes, it's good, it's talented, but shouldn't be shutting out an offense like UC Santa Barbara if that offense is performing up to standard. So the bats need to wake up in Santa Barbara. I understand it's a pitching first program right now, but this series could get out of hand quickly if the offense continues to not be awake.
Yeah, and this UC Irvine team won 45 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
They're a very good ball club. They're not that same club, but they're still going out there and finding ways to win. And this one was just crazy to me, the fact that UCSB just has not found any offense. It's one of the biggest concerns I had for them, putting them in the top 25 to preseason. And they've continued to just struggle offensively. And that's one thing that you're just not going to want to see if you're a, UCSB fan. Irvine, big win on the road, though, going in there and taking care of business. We're going to see what happens the rest of this weekend. We'll see probably a bounce back today, but you never know. I mean, if Irvine continues to hit, maybe they're leader in the clubhouse for the Big West. If they can continue and win this series, then they've just got to get past Hawaii, and that's it basically for them to be able to win the Big West and get that auto bid. Cal and Stanford. Cal goes to Stanford. We're like, oh, old Pac-12 series. Now this is ACC. This is ACC series now. They go in there and just clean house. I mean, 13-3, you know, knocking Matt Scott out in the first two innings there, who's been electric on Friday nights. He's been so good for Stanford. It's getting six there early. Alex Burge hits a home run in the first. He also hits one late in the game, in the seventh. And you're talking, what is going on here? Cal's been a team that's been back and forth, and this is a huge thing for them to go out there and get that Friday night win against their rival in the Sunken Diamond. And Stanford just tried to chip it away. They got back to a 6-3, but it really never got going offensively either. And pitching wise, the bullpen was good for a couple innings, and then it just blew up and gave all those runs back to Cal.
Yeah, I mean, Stanford coming off a conference sweep of Duke, you're like, okay, maybe this is the point where they stake their claim as, hey, we're not only in the ACC, we're here to win it. We're here to, be respected. We've been slighted in
UNC already.
Yeah, we've been slighted in some polls, and here we are, like, stamping our foot down. But then Cal comes in and takes game one. This is the third ACC series for Cal where they've won game one. They have yet to win a game 2 or 3 yet. If they can do so against Stanford, then maybe that's the point where they're saying, okay, now we're here, we're playing a full complete series. But they need to have a series win. Obviously, going out and beating, Duke's Friday night ace and beating Virginia's Friday night ace, great for Cal. But you need to be able to win games 2 and 3 of a series, especially in the ACC. You can't be affording to lose conference series where you start out 1-0. That's going to catch up with you eventually. That's going to impact your seeding in the tournament, and you're going to get a matchup. You're going to be on the outside looking in, especially Cal's not getting the benefit of the doubt from NA selection committees. There are several programs that would get the benefit of the doubt. Cal's not one of them right now. I need to see them come through, and this is a great opportunity for them. Just take 1 or 2 from Stanford the rest of the weekend, and you're back in 4 and 5 in conference, and you're right where you need to be. But Stanford, again, not too worried about it. Just rough outing by your ace. Staff's deep enough. The offense is going to hit. Just come out and win games 2 and 3 of the series, and then just keep marching on.
Yeah, you still get Christian Lim tonight, and then you're going to go and get Joey Volchko, 2 guys that are probably going to be drafted. You're talking about a team that really has a great staff, and losing one game, not the end of the world for Stanford. They can bounce back. Cal has to figure out a way to win a weekend series because they've played good enough baseball to win games, and they haven't stayed in those games in the weekend. They got to figure out a way to win a Saturday or a Sunday game in the ACC. I think they've been a big surprise for teams, taking a game from Duke, taking a game from Virginia, taking a game from Stanford. That's tough enough. I mean, those are hard enough series, but you got to figure out a way to win one of those series and get out there and get it. So they got to take care of business here over the weekend. But a good start for Cal to get the offense going. That's been their biggest question mark, is where are they going to get the offense, because they've been so high on some games, and they turn around, they go 2 hits in the next game. Consistency for this Cal team as they get older. But I like to see them go out there and get a win on the road at Stanford against your rival. It's a good way to start. Indiana, UCLA, a new Big Ten matchup, AJ. Indiana wins 5-1. This is an Indiana team that struggled mightily to start the season. They could not figure out anything offensively. They couldn't figure out anything pitching-wise. They were just a mess of a ball club. They've put their way back into it. They're now 5-2 in conference play. Going out there and beating UCLA at UCLA, that's not an easy thing. Devin Taylor hits that home run, 2-run home run in the first. Dickinson and Cerny both hit home runs. Solo shot from Lavu. So all the runs came from home runs. Only 4 hits for the Bruins, though, AJ.
Yeah, I mean, you look at how that game was played, and it was, like you said, the pitching staff dominated for Indiana, and you're like, okay, did they have a guy just go out and throw 8 shutout innings? Like, was it just one guy you handed the ball off and shut him down? And no, weirdly enough, you had Ryan Kraft go out and perform very well over 4 1/3 innings, and then he hands the ball off to Cole Gilly, who goes out of relief 4 2/3 innings, finishes off the game, and he gives up the 1 run. But it was just those two guys combined to shut down a UCLA offense that has been kind of not relentless, but just one of those offenses that keeps putting pressure on you, never is out of games, and it held them down to only the 4 hits. It incredibly impressive by the Indiana pitching staff in a game that they needed to get on track. UCLA has had a very hot start to the year, especially in conference play. They're still, with the loss, they're 5-2 in conference. They're perfectly fine. Their bullpen did well. The bullpen's kind of been nails in conference play. So Cody Delvecchio, rough. I think he's 0-3 now with a couple
0-3 now.
Crazy
weird start for him.
Yeah, but he's good enough to be 3-0. But it's just one of those kind of weird situations, unfortunately for him. But UCLA is fine. Absolutely massive for Indiana. If they can come in and win this series, they need it to turn around their season.
Huge road win for them. That's kind of what they need. They need to win the series, though. Got to finish, right? So UCLA is not going to go away quietly. They think that they're one of those teams that can compete in the Big Ten. I know you and I have had discussions. You have them highly ranked. You think that this is a very good team. I think they're very good. I don't know if they can win the Big Ten with how well Oregon's been playing, but they're right there. And both these teams are making a way for themselves, and it's going to depend a lot on this weekend here. UCLA's got to find a way to win at home, and 1 run's never going to do it in Big Ten conference play. Big 12, Kansas 2, Arizona State 9. This is the Arizona State offense that we saw last week, and finally, after they struggled mightily in that Friday night game against TCU, I was wondering if we were going to see that drop off. No, they didn't. Josiah Cromwell hammers a pair of home runs. Arizona State pitching holds a hot Kansas team to just 4 hits, and I think that was the biggest difference. 7 walks, though, from their starter, and you just go, Ben Jacobs hasn't been what we thought he was going to be so far as on Friday night there for Arizona State. He's been good enough to go out there and give them a chance, but 7 walks really was the difference, and then he gives up just the 4 hits, though. So the bullpen of Arizona State really held down this Kansas team.
Yeah, and it's a Kansas team that, a couple weeks ago, they burst on the scene because they created a raucous environment. It's a lot of momentum behind that program. And then Arizona State comes in and never gives the Kansas team a chance to really feel like they're in the game, that they have a step up on Arizona State, even though they're getting these opportunities. And sometimes that's the worst thing for an offense, when you're getting these free bases. And that seems to be the only time that you're able to actually create some action. Being held to 4 hits by the starter, it's like, okay, we have guys on base, we just need to come through. And the feeling of not being able to do that. Meanwhile, you look up and Arizona State's offense is continuing to be Arizona State's offense. They're tacking runs up on the board. You're not really matching them. Sometimes that can be incredibly frustrating. This is another series like the TCU series last weekend, where I expect this to be a higher scoring series. I don't think we're going to see many times either one of these offenses held to 2 runs or even 5 runs. I think we're going to see a lot of runs scored. It'll take, kind of superb pitching performances to hold either one of these offenses down. I'm locked in on this series. I think these are 2 teams that we could be looking at the end of the year as either competing for, the 1, 2, or 3 seed in the conference tournaments, or securing at-large bids.
Yeah, I think that both these teams are tournament teams. Honestly, I think that they've played their way so far this season. I think that they've shown that they can be. Now, there's still a lot of season left. We got to see more from it. Arizona State seems to be in a better position the more that they keep winning these conference games and getting after it, especially that win after at TCU. Big road series win after you struggle on Friday. Good way to start at home there and go get that win. But I'm with you. I think that we're going to see a lot more offense from this weekend before we see more pitching performances. But big win to start the season or series for Arizona State. NC State goes on the road, beats Pitt 6-2. Pitt was leading in this game. Dominic Fritton was elite, though. I mean, he gave a 2-run bomb. Cook hit that ball a mile. 7 1/3, 13 strikeouts, just 4 hits. Schaffner comes in and gives up no hits in his relief. The 2-run double there was what really separated this team, though, because they were tied there in the 8th, and then the 2-run double as they took the lead in the 8th, and then they put more on in the 9th. NC State is finding themselves again after some struggles early this season.
And I truly just am how impressed I am with Dominic Fritton just being a veteran pitcher. A lot of guys, get in the hole early, you kind of feel like it's not your night. Instead, he just knuckles down and continues to have another great outing, give his team a chance, give his offense a chance to, grow into the game a little bit. That's what you need out of a Friday night guy. If something doesn't go your way early, if you find yourself in a little bit of a hole, limit the damage, hold that offense down. And he did a great job doing that. NC State, I'm not saying that they're back, but they're playing a completely different brand of baseball than we saw them play to start out the year. This is a team that I don't want to have to face right now with how deep that pitching staff is, with how talented it is, and the offense, seemingly does, just enough. And then when they need to tack on late in games, they do that. They provide that cushion. They play good defense. It's an NC State team that no one else in the ACC wants to see.
No, and you nailed it with that bullpen, right? We always have talked about that bullpen since preseason. They've been really good, and that's been a reason why this surgence of offense has been able to be enough for them. 6 runs may not be enough in most games. Last night it was perfect for this NC State team. They did just enough offensively to give Fritton that win, and he's been so good for them on Friday nights and just going out there, and he doesn't have to be dominant. He just goes out there and competes and gives his chance a team to win, and they keep going out there and taking care of him on the backside. Louisville 4, Virginia Tech 5. Sam Tackett, a pair of 2 home runs early, really got the Virginia Tech offense going. It was enough. Louisville scored 3 and had the bases loaded in the ninth, but Virginia Tech escapes the jam. Britt Renfro was a great starter there for Virginia Tech, and this is a big home win against a team of Louisville that has been surging.
Yeah, and that just shows like how important building those leads and having those insurance runs are, especially against a team like Louisville that has really, so far this season, knows how to win. They know how to come back and take the lead late in games. They know how to fight to the last out. Some teams roll over when it gets late in games and you're trailing by more than a couple runs. Louisville's not one of those teams. If Virginia Tech doesn't have the guys in the back end of the bullpen who are prepared to step in and limit the damage, then Louisville walks out of there with a win last night, because they are a relentless team. There's a reason that they've climbed in so many rankings. But to be able to go out and, yes, you're in a position where you could very easily lose this game now after leading, having the lead coming into the ninth inning. We saw that a couple different games last night where pitching let some guys down, errors let some guys down. But Virginia Tech nails, being able to salvage the final game against NC State last weekend, being able to salvage this game. Without those 2 wins, you're looking at a Virginia Tech team that is at the bottom of a very talented and deep ACC. Now you've maintained a little bit of a foothold. You can move forward. This is a series that you take one of the next 2 games, you can win, and all of a sudden Virginia Tech is right back in the mix of an at-large conversation, or at least being there early on in the season. Very, very massive for this program.
Yeah, and this is a Virginia Tech team that's been able to hit all season, right? They've been able to hit. They just haven't had those performances pitching wise. Going out there and holding Virginia or Louisville, you felt like, oh no, this is just another one where they're just going to give up that winning run. They're going to give up that opportunity. They held on, and it's a big win at home for this Virginia Tech team. This team has competed all season long, so it's good to see them go out and get this win, especially at home to start off this weekend here against a very good Louisville team. One that you said, they really just don't back down. They just keep coming after you. They're like a bulldog. Houston 7, UCF 5. This is a UCF team that I've been building up. I think that they're a top 25 club. They get up 5-0 in a hurry in this one, and everybody's like high five, and they're all pumped up. Antoine Jean comes in for Houston and shuts them down completely. 5 innings, 3 hits, 11 strikeouts, gets the save. Malachi Lott hits a triple in the 5th inning to give Houston lead, and it was all Antoine Jean, though, coming in and just shutting down that UCF offense.
And it's what Houston needed. I mean, they were staring 0-4 in conference in the face. And they were already a team that many picked to either be last or close to it in that conference. UCF, like you said, ton of momentum, very talented team, the home team. It's possible that they kind of got out to that 5-0 lead and thought they were going to coast. Just what I was talking about Virginia Tech. If you have those guys who just think you're going to coast and then aren't able to lock it in, then you have a result like UCF had, where all of a sudden offense, guy on the mound for the other team starts shutting you down a little bit. Pitching staff just keeps giving up runs here or there. All of a sudden you find yourself trailing, and it feels like there's just this wave that you're not able to counter. And that's what happened to UCF last night. Massive win for Houston. If they can get that series win on the road at UCF, it would be tremendous for that program. Still going to be very hard for them to do. I expect UCF to kind of come out and play pissed off today. They didn't want to win that game, or they didn't want to lose that game, but they obviously didn't want to lose it in the way that they did, giving up that 5-run lead and having their offense kind of go dormant. Pitching staff let them down a little bit. I expect them to kind of come out angry. If Houston does win this series, it's going to be one that they earn.
Yeah, it's going to be one that UCF looks back on and goes, man, that was a missed opportunity for us. We were playing really good baseball going into this series and being a home for Big 12 play finally. They're on the road already. Tough loss there last night, but great for Houston. I mean, Malik, like I said, Antoine Jean, really unbelievable coming out there and shutting down this UCF team that's been hot offensively. The 11 strikeouts in 5 innings of relief is just crazy. Really good there for Houston. Rutgers has to travel all the way over to Oregon. They played Oregon State in a midweek, and then they have to go down to Eugene to play Oregon. It was horrible weather. It was pouring rain. I'm not there in the valley right now. It was pouring rain, though. The ballpark was fairly empty for Oregon fans because of how bad it was raining. Mason Neville hits another home run for Oregon, which is just crazy. 2 RBI Walsh single there late in that game, and then Parker Stinson gets the walk-off as Rutgers had tied it back up in the ninth. Big win for Oregon as they go to 6-1 now in Big Ten play. Not really a pretty ball game, but good enough to get wins. That's all you have to do, right?
Yeah, good enough to get wins. And if you're Rutgers, you're playing a team that I think most people would look at and be like, okay, they're better than us. We're in the game, but they never had control of the game. It felt like Oregon was just, kind of leaning on, ready to break through at any moment, and then, walk off in the bottom of the ninth. It's tough for Rutgers. But to show up and play well in bad weather against a very, very good Oregon team, one that's been really hot. Mason Neville, I think there's 11 homers now on the year. Like, it's just been unreal. This is an Oregon team. Yeah. So imagine facing that guy, 5-6 times a game when the offense gets going, and even in a slow game, you're seeing him 4 or 5 times. He can do damage. He doesn't need guys on base to do damage. He can set himself up to do damage for guys later on the lineup, but he can pop you just as well. So this is an Oregon team that, maybe not enough people knew about coming into the year, but they have jumped out, and I think they're 6-1 in conference now, 18-4 overall. Like, this is a true contender, not only just coming out of the West. This is one of the best teams in college baseball this year.
Yeah. And I was screaming it from the mountaintops, and people started to listen a little bit. And I was like, this is an Omaha team. This is a team that lost in back-to-back super regionals against 2 very good ball clubs. And you're talking about a team that returned 11 starters on offense last year. They've shown that. They've shown that they're just composed. They go out there and win. They got a great coach in Waz. And I think that this team just continues to find ways to win. Now, it's not always going to be pretty, and it's always tough to play in the Valley sometimes here in Oregon where it rains feet. But to go out there and get the win, just finding a way to win. Rutgers had bases loaded multiple times last night and didn't put up crooked numbers, and that was the difference in this one. But a good home win for Oregon as they move to 6-1 in conference play. Oklahoma State, AJ, 0. Utah, 11. Derek Smith homers twice. Only 5 hits for Oklahoma State. They're reeling at this point. I mean, this is a Big 12 loss.
It's something that I noticed early on when we saw them against Arkansas in the fall, how they struck out a ton, and they had posted the picture of, our guys in the weight room. He's swinging the bat that's bent because he's just swinging so hard. And I made a little joke of like, maybe they're not hitting because the bats are bent. Maybe something's off, that, it's a couple inches here or there, but we're not used to seeing this team not produce offensively against teams that they very much should be producing offensively. And this is another example of what's up with the offense. What's up with, we know the pitching staff isn't, maybe what some of the elite Oklahoma State teams of the past have had on the mound. But again, I look at an 11-0 score, and for me, the more surprising part is the 0 against Utah. I get Utah is a better team than people give them credit for. They've had a very good start to the year. I'm excited about this Utah team.
Me too.
But Oklahoma State, well, what's going on? And it hasn't just been in conference. Like, it hasn't just been, struggles here or there. They're 10-9, and they should be right next to A&M. The conversations of what is going on with this team.
And this Utah team is not the pitching staff they had last year that was elite, right? This is a different pitching staff. Shouldn't really be able to shut down an Oklahoma State team where you would think, oh, maybe they win in a shootout, maybe they win in this game. They just dominated, start to finish, never a chance. Just really Utah taking care of business. Big win for Utah at home. Maybe a bigger loss for Oklahoma State on the road now. They only got in one game against West Virginia, which maybe looking back might be a blessing for Oklahoma State. But they're 0-2 now in conference to start off, and it's not the place that they want to be, especially with their overall record just not being where you want it to be. We'll talk about them maybe a little bit more here later. Something cool, AJ. This is my favorite segment that we started a couple years ago. I know last week we had a really cool one. I'm gonna let you go first here because I got a few that I want to go through.
I mean, I'm probably going to take one of yours, but I'm going to try to give it all the context. The Lodi's cousins, Alex Lodi's for Florida State on Thursday, 2 homers. His cousin shows up on Friday and goes, "I not only do I have 3 homers, but I have 3 homers and a triple to just drop in back-to-back games." And it's just like yes, they're cousins, they're not brothers, but to do it in the ACC on back-to-back nights and to be able to just show out, that's one of the cooler things to see this one-up battle. I'm excited to see what they do today. We might see 2 grand slams by one of them, just trying to, supersede the other. But it's very fun. 2 very fun guys to watch on 2 very, very fun baseball teams.
I was laughing as I was tweeting about it last night. I was like, Kyle Lodi's hits his first multi-home run game for Georgia Tech, and I was like, oh, spoke too soon. Now he's got 3.
Yep, he's got 3 by the 4th or 5th inning, and then he just adds a triple to show, hey, I'm not all just power. I got some speed in there too.
Very good shortstop and tremendous hitter there, and as Georgia Tech won last night. Big win for them on the road. Because anytime you win in ACC play is big, but him getting 3 home runs was a special moment. My something cool, it was literally freezing last night, so it was cool here at Washington State. They win 13-3, really good offense, great pitching performance from Griffin Smith there. I thought that was something cool. Anthony Silva going out and getting his 100th career RBI for TCU, a guy who's been embattled and really he's gone through the ringer there for TCU. So good for him to get out there and get his 100th career RBI. Big time for TCU. Good ball player. We like to see those career stats as you build those up, and 100 RBIs is nothing to scoff at.
I do have another cool one.
Throw it at me.
Quick.
Hit me with it.
So March Madness and stuff going on. Obviously, ton of focus on that. You know what the number 1 top play was last night? It was an NAIA catch by a shortstop. Who would have thought that, a guy from Cumberland, Tennessee playing NAIA ball the first weekend of March Madness would have the number 1 play on ESPN? If you make the plays, they're going to see you. But no one is focused on NAIA baseball during March Madness weekend. Apparently you should be. You should be locked in on that. NAIA teams are beating D1 teams. They're playing insane levels of baseball. And that's just the depth of college baseball of, hey, we're playing really good ball. We're playing very exciting baseball. You can take March Madness, and yeah, there are going to be some good games, but underwhelming weekend for them. Huge for college baseball as a whole, stepping up and actually providing some excitement.
I love it. I was an NAIA JUCO guy too, so I love to see those get in there, the top plays there. All right. So far this season, which conference has been more impressive, AJ? SEC or ACC? I know they've both been really, really good, and we think they're going to get a lot of teams in this tournament. But which one do you think has been more impressive?
I will have to go SEC purely because there are more teams in the ACC that felt like they haven't lived up to the hype yet.
Okay.
You have teams like Duke and you have teams like Virginia, and you're like, okay, when are you finally going to click? And there are just more of those teams that haven't stepped up, and there haven't been the teams to kind of surge and replace them. Where, conference like the SEC, like, yes, A&M, horrible start for them. They are kind of the reason you look at the SEC and you're like, what's up with them? But it seems like Alabama's replaced them as kind of this upstart team of, if it's not one team, we got this other depth coming up. Auburn having the start to the year that they've had, like they're another team that's stepping up. And then to have teams like Tennessee and LSU continue to just, dominate and prove that they are um, two of the best teams, if not the two best teams in college baseball. I think you have arguably more championship contenders in the SEC right now. Um, yeah, Florida State can obviously make some noise and win it all out of the ACC. Stanford should probably be in that conversation. There's a lot of very good teams in the ACC that have the chance to make some noise. I just think most impressive at this point, I'm leaning SEC, but that can flip in a couple weeks if we have teams like Georgia Tech make some noise and NC State continue to prove that they're back. And if LSU drops a series here or there, and Tennessee struggles against maybe some teams they shouldn't struggle against, then ACC definitely has an inside track.
I feel like ACC might have deeper top to bottom. I think the SEC has definitely been more top heavy, and those top teams have really performed outside of A&M. The expectations are high. I think Duke and Virginia dropping down and not playing up to their expectations is hurt. But teams like UNC, NC State, Florida State, Stanford has really surprised a lot of teams so far. I think that is what's built up the ACC. I think that the ACC might be deeper, all the way top to bottom. Boston College, Cal, teams that were picked low, they go out there and they're winning games in this conference, and it's not just because the conference is more competitive. I think top to bottom, but I think that there's really good teams, and Pitt has been out there going out there and battling teams. So I think that you're talking about a top to bottom ACC that might be tougher, but I think the SEC has been more top heavy. So I'll agree with you on that side of it. But I think that if you're talking about 10, 11, 12 teams getting in, I think the ACC gets more teams in than maybe the SEC does this year. But
yeah, especially right now, because you have a chunk of teams that are very dangerous teams at either 4-3 or 3-4 in the ACC. Yeah. And the SEC, like, yes, they've played one fewer conference weekend, so you're not going to have that same chunk around the 3-4, 4-3. Like, record's going to be a little different. But I do agree with you. There's definitely the chance there for you have 3 or 4 of those teams take a step forward, and all of a sudden you're looking at a tier 1 and tier 2 of the ACC that can challenge for not only being super regional hosts, national seeds, but being 2 seeds that you don't want to see in your bracket, and that can go and beat an SEC team on the road. And it's SEC needs some conference depth to have teams like Mississippi State, who got off to a slower start, be able to make some noise. Your teams like South Carolina, your teams like Kentucky, who generally right now aren't considered to be in that upper echelon or even that tier 2 of the SEC. They need those teams to step up to really give them the postseason depth to match the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, look at it, you're like, okay, Duke, Virginia Tech, Louisville, those might be 2 or 3 seeds in brackets. You don't want to face those teams right now. That doesn't sound like any fun. All right. This season, there's been a lot of surprises. Who's the biggest player and team surprise for you? So give me one player and one team that you think has been the biggest surprise thus far.
Do you want a positive or a negative surprise?
You can go either way. You can give me either side. I left this one open for interpretation, AJ.
All right. So I'm going to go positive surprise first, and I'm going to go player positive surprise, then I'll go team negative surprise on the back end. I have really, really, really been pleasantly surprised by, we keep talking about this guy, Rylan Zabrowski. It is in a Georgia offense where it's like, okay, Wes Johnson's second year, he's finally going to get the pitching staff. We have guys we know can just shut him down. Brian Curley was kind of the name to know coming out of camp. They have Charlie Goldstein. They have some other guys who on that pitching staff that you're like, okay, year 2 under Wes Johnson, these guys are finally healthy. Like, yes, the offense is going to continue to be there, but they're without Charlie Condon. They're losing a lot of guys. Pitching staff is going to carry the team, and they've needed the offense to carry the team early. Starting pitching for Georgia hasn't shown up at all. It's truly been mystifying. No matter who they go out there, they can't go more than 3 innings. Bullpen's been great, but when you put the bullpen guys in starting roles, then they all of a sudden blow chunks, and it's like, what is going on? And the reason that they're ranked where they are, top 10 team, is because of that offense and because of Rylan Zabrowski. Like, he has been elite. He is my favorite right now for Golden Spikes, and to be outplaying Justin LeBron right now shows you. I think if you take Justin LeBron off of Alabama, they have a couple more losses. If you take Rylan Zabrowski off of Georgia, they have 5 or 6 more losses. He has been clutch. He has been lethal at the plate. It's explosive. Everything you want in an offensive player. He's already hit more home runs this year than he had all last year. It's unreal. And for a Georgia team that where you maybe focus on some other guys, Trey Phelps, some other more powerful guys coming in, the fifth-year senior who hit 10 home runs last year at Miami, maybe not the guy you keyed in on, but he's been the most impactful guy, I think, in college baseball so far this year.
Yeah, and you're talking about, he's outplaying his own teammate in Trey Phelps, who's like, this is the guy that was on the Golden Spikes list. So it's crazy. You said you had a negative also you wanted to share with us?
Negative team. I'm not going to take the team that you're going to say.
Okay.
Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, you play a very competitive series for the most part against Tennessee, and then you blow a lead against Georgia at home. All of a sudden, you're staring 0-4 in conference in the face, and this isn't a year where you can just count on, I'm going to win a couple series here or there. You already have some pitching staffs banged up a little bit. How many starts are you going to get out of your best arms? Pierce Coppola trying to work his way back. Liam Peterson being out hurts them tremendously on the mound. He's your Friday night guy. And, offense, you have some guys who are clicking early. You're relying on the long ball, and they're hitting them. Brody Donay was putting himself in Golden Spikes conversations after the first month of the season. And then you look up there now and you're like, okay, fan base is kind of turning on him because he hasn't been himself the past week. And people are going to not be themselves for a week. And that's perfectly fine. It's baseball. It's going to happen. But there's this volatility around the fan base and the team right now to where they need that first conference win badly, just for the fan base and the team just to kind of take that deep breath. If they don't get it today, then you might see some very, very nervous players and coaches in Gainesville trying to avoid an 0-6 start, which is unfathomable. This is the first 0-4 conference start Kevin O'Sullivan's had at Florida. It just program doesn't do that. They need a win today. They can going up against a Georgia team where they can take advantage of that pitching staff. But it's Brian Curley on the mound. We don't know what he's going to look like as a starter.
Yep.
Obviously, the stuff is elite, but you can't count on putting 5 or 6 runs up against Brian Curley. So what are you going to do offensively and on the mound to avoid an 0-5 start?
Yeah, and you're talking about this could be an unprecedented thing where 2 top 10 preseason teams would start off 0-5 in SEC play with A&M, and Florida would be just an insane thing. And statistically, 0-5 teams don't make the tournament, which is just crazy to think of when they start off in SEC play. I got 2 positives. I'm going to go 2 positives here. Alabama has just been super positive, right? They've come out of seemingly nowhere. We knew Justin LeBron, and we kept looking around going, we don't know who else is going to contribute to this team. Zane Adams has been really, really good on Fridays. This team has been good. They keep going out there and getting wins, big-time wins. They started off with the win against Tennessee, which nobody had done until East Tennessee State had decided to go beat them. But to give them that win and then lose last night, they could win the series, though, which would be just huge for Alabama tonight. So I think Alabama's my positive. I had Oklahoma up there as well because they've come out of nowhere too. Pitching wise, we knew that they were going to be good. Offense was the struggles, and then they struggled last night offensively. Kuhio Aloy for Arkansas has to be one of the biggest surprises in the country coming out. He's hitting 416, 35 RBIs, slugging 831. The 8 home runs, just crazy numbers. And he seemingly came out of nowhere. He wasn't even starting the first weekend. He just was getting some spot plays. Now he's in there every weekend. He's been hitting 4 for this team. Arkansas's offense has found some answers. Seems to be the Hawaiians and the Australian and Iredell. They're fine with it. They're going, find us more Hawaiian players because this is crazy. We're just taking off offensively. And with that pitching staff, I think that's been one of the biggest positives.
Yeah, and you could tell right away that he was a dude. Like Arkansas, yes, historically their offense hasn't lived up to expectations, but when he's coming in and being clutch off the bench, and then the fan base is like, okay, we need this guy starting. And then DVH is like, nah, we're going to have him just come off the bench for a little bit. Like, seemed like he tried to keep the pressure off of him as much as possible. Yeah. And then Kihio just kept being like, no, I want to be in the moment. I'm going to continue to produce. I'm not a flash in the pan. And he's the DVH basically was forced to put him in the lineup. And then not only was he forced in the lineup, he's been like one of the best hitters for Arkansas. So you've had to move him up into the 4 hole, and he's continued to produce. So it's just not many guys go from, rotational bench guy to 4 hole in the SEC very often. Most of the times when you see that, it's like a freshman guy who has played his way into it.
Yeah.
So it's really, really, really impressive to see.
Love seeing it. Love seeing it. And the positivity of that team's just been so high and happy and just loving it. All right. One last segment here. Who has to turn things around? I have a list of some teams here. Oklahoma State is 10-9 now, 0-2 in conference. Maryland is 11-11 now, 1-3, and that's a Maryland team that a lot of us picked to be near the top there, the Big Ten. They've struggled so far. Texas A&M is now 0-5 and has dropped completely out of the top 25. Those are the 3 teams I look at the most where I think that these are the teams that have the talent that could be competing right now and could be tournament teams. Which one of these teams, or are there multiple of these teams you think can turn this thing around and right the ship?
That can turn it around?
Yeah.
I look at that list. I think Oklahoma State has the best chance to turn it around. Coaching staff has a history of maximizing the talent there, getting guys back on track, getting offensive numbers to produce. I just wonder about, you look at Maryland and, again, 2-headed Calarco brother monster. Like, that's unreal up there, but they haven't been able to win with it. And that's with those 2 guys playing kind of at their best. It's been unreal. We have some interference going on. I don't know what's going on there.
Somehow we got jumped on to having Noah on the camera.
Yeah, so if Noah can mute, that'd be fantastic. Or producer, everybody.
That's producer Noah.
So it's been not that I would expect Maryland to struggle, but
yeah,
it's definitely not as unforeseeable as A&M, but a lot of their struggles, it's, maybe it's some bullpen management that hasn't been perfect. Maybe it's been some lineup management that hasn't been perfect. And, it's Coach Early's first year as a head coach. I trust the actual head coaches who have been around the block and done this before and, had to overcome slumps and losing streaks. I just don't know if, the talent's obviously there, and if he can put the right guys in the right spot and have them produce, then there's only so much a coach can do. But there's also a lot of leadership that players look to coaches for. Of, hey, you've been there, you've come out of slumps. There's a reason that none of us were really surprised that Kevin O'Sullivan had his guys playing the best baseball in the tournament last year.
Yeah.
Can Coach Early actually flip the script and have these guys believe in themselves and have them believe in him? I think so, but I think the likelihood of Oklahoma State turning it around is higher than A&M right now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Oklahoma State has the Big 12 in front of them still. I think they can figure some things out. Maryland has a tough schedule upcoming, but really, Calarco and the Hakopian brothers, like, the offense is there. It's been pitching-wise that they haven't been able to figure it out. I think that they'll maybe find their stride. I think they might be a team that gets hot late. A&M is just the biggest question mark. I mean, I don't know what we're going to see from them for the rest of the season. They got to figure some things out.
And you play SEC teams. It's hard to figure stuff out against SEC teams.
It is. It's not easy.
We saw LSU play good baseball last year and struggle to win games until very, very late when they got hot. And they had some guys playing at an otherworldly level. Without the emergence of Stephen Milam last year, they don't make the tournament.
Yeah.
So do you have guys like that who can emerge for A&M? Yes. But you can't wait around too long to have guys emerge in a very, very talented conference.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Final thoughts as we head into the rest of the week. And I know we got lots of great ball to watch. I know March Madness is out there. We don't really pay attention as much to that as we do because college baseball's going.
No major upsets there. I think, we have some very, very exciting conference series going on this weekend in baseball. I think we might see more upsets in baseball than we will see in basketball. Be keyed in on that. I think we're going to see offensive explosions as the weather continues to get better, which makes the pitching performances that do stand out that much more. If we see a guy go 8 innings, 1-run ball today in power conference matchups, I'll be very, very surprised. But these teams are going to have to earn wins, and We need to see some teams respond. I'm locked in on Florida, Georgia. I need to see what Florida does today. Um, and I'm also keeping an eye on Texas A&M Vandy. Does Texas A&M start 0-6 in conference?
Yeah. Yeah, I got some games out there. I mean, Louisville, can they come back and take the next two against Virginia Tech has been tough. Can Kansas do something against this Arizona State offense? I'm very excited. Does Stanford bounce back and beat Cal the next two? I don't know. I'm very excited for this. College baseball is back. If your team's already been eliminated in basketball, come over and join us. Join the good side. We got college baseball going for the rest of the year. We don't sleep until July. Thanks for joining us here, College Baseball Central, AJ Sessions and myself. We'll see you guys next Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Central Time. Thank you.